I'm Keep Joel, and this is Comic Smack, your weekly, daily, all the time, anytime comic show where I give you your fix of everything you need to know from the world of comic books and superheroes. And on today's show, we're taking a closer look at the Unworthy Thor issue number 5, the grand conclusion of this ongoing miniseries. Who will wield the ultimate hammer, and what did Nick Fury say to make Thor unworthy in the first place? Well, let's hop on in together and find out, shall we? So, as the comic opens, we are reintroduced to the Unseen, that character that was left behind in the wake of the Watcher and Nick Fury seemingly fusing together. The grim and gaunt creature maligns its own very existence, but moreover than that, it talks about what it truly regrets, and mainly that is whispering in the ear of who he considers to be the greatest god of them all, Thor. But because the Unseen is able to view the universe, and I'm assuming the same way the Watcher did, he knows it's only a matter of time before Odinson hurls off this burdensome yoke and becomes the hero he was always meant to be again. Now, over on the Collector space station, Odinson is attempting to pick up the ultimate hammer. This is what the entire mini has been leading up to, and before Thor puts his hands upon the hammer, his life flashes before his eyes, joining the Avengers and indeed every other major moment in his life. It's a really great little panel too. I take my hat off to the art team for paying homage to all the different costumes he's had over the years. It's right around here Thor is hit with a pang of regret because he knows this isn't his hammer, this isn't the one he carried into battle all those times. This hammer belongs to someone else, another Thor out there. In quite the swerve, Thor refuses to pick this hammer up, although granted he does manage to take just enough electricity powers off of it to defeat Thanos' two henchmen. Well, now that the bad guys are defeated, Thor has to worry about saving the day from the Collector, and he does it in a really interesting way. He might not pick up the hammer, but he is going to take something from the Collector, mainly the ruins of Asgard of which they're standing on. Using what residual power he had left over, our hero manages to teleport the ruins of Asgard away from the Collector. In doing so, robbing him of both the landmass and the hammer at the same time. Needless to say, Tavon is not happy about this. Black Swan and the rest of Thanos' henchmen also have to go back with their tails in between their legs and report to their boss that Thor got away and got the hammer he wanted. Luckily, Thanos is afflicted with that kind of comic book villain attention deficit disorder, and he's already got his mind set on something completely different. One person who does stay angry, though, is the hooded figure who is helping Black Swan and Proxima Midnight out. Turns out she was actually Hela, the Asgardian god of the dead. Using her goddess power, she's more than able to trounce Thanos' elite, which impresses the Mad Titan quite a bit. I mean, after all, we know he's got a major boner for Lady Death. Hela is a goddess of death, so hey, you know what? I think this crazy new ship might just set sail and make it, world. As things begin to wind down, Beta Ray Bill finds Thor in the ruins of Asgard and asks him the questions that fans have been asking for about 2.5 years now, ever since the events of Original Sin, and that is, what did Nick Fury say to you that made you unworthy? And you know what? Leave it to Jason Aaron to be self-referential here, but he ties it all the way back into the original God Butcher storyline. You see, what Nick Fury said to Thor was, Gore was right. Basically saying that gods like Thor are cruel, malicious, and completely unworthy. This actually ties in very nicely to what's happening in the main Thor book with Jane Foster as she's fighting the gods of the Shi'ar Empire right now, who fit that bill perfectly. What they're essentially saying here is that Gore the God Butcher broke Thor, that he had always worried about being worthy and that it was always a daily battle for him, but that it was this moment right here that really pushed him over the edge. In a way, Thor himself was his own worst enemy, and the whole point of this miniseries was him trying to really reevaluate and redefine what it meant for him to be worthy in his own mind. But I think Beta Ray Bill sums up my feelings perfectly when talking to Odinson, saying that he's more than just a god, more than just a superhero, he's his friend, and he knows deep down that he's worthy. But hey, you know, just because Thor didn't become the new owner of the Ultimate Hammer doesn't mean the Ultimate Hammer didn't want to be picked up. So much to the point, in fact, that it called out to another person, a mystery man who, as the comic ends, claims to be a new Thor, a better Thor, a war Thor. Unworthy Thor issue number 5 is a conclusion that's going to be really divisive to a lot of people. I know a lot of people were tweeting at me already before I even made the video about how disappointed they were with the reveal given how long they've waited. Personally, I think Gore was right, was always supposed to be the end game, as it ties everything that Aaron's been doing, pretty much his entire thesis on Thor together, this idea of Thor existing in this weird in-between for superhero, extra-dimensional being, an actual biblical figure. I liked it for being understated, I liked it for being quiet and subtle, and I liked, it more being a character piece for Thor than some huge revelation of some past sin that he committed. But you know what? I also heard a lot of fun, exciting fan theories that people had, none of which ended up being correct, but could have been interesting. Overall, though, I found this story to be really damn good. Aaron does a lot of really nice character work here, taking Odinson Thor through his own personal heart of darkness and having him come out the other end with a whole new status quo. It's also pretty huge to see the return of the original Asgard, especially considering how long we've been living with Asgardia. It's also a pretty bold choice for Aaron to pretty much put down his foot and say, no, there is only one Mjolnir that will do for Thor, and that's the one that's currently in Jane Foster's hands, which means, this is going to be a factor in that book soon. Overall, I thought this was one hell of a conclusion to one hell of a journey, and even if you didn't necessarily like the twist, I get the feeling this is going to be one of these stories that read much better years down the line when everything is said and done and everything has been collected. Honestly, at the end of the day, I would give this one a 10 out of 10, and if you have been following the Jason Aaron Thor saga and haven't been reading this, well, you absolutely owe it to yourself to start. So there you have it, everybody. This mini comes to a close, and as always, if you want to see what other videos I have on offer from the channel, please check some of them out. And if you want to know when the next Jason Aaron or Thor related video comes out, might I recommend following me on social media. You can find links to everything down there in the description of this video. And while you're in the description, you'll also find a link to bookdepository.uk, my favorite place for buying comic book trades. And in fact, if you use that link down there and buy yourself a trade, then a small percentage of that sale goes to me. You'll be getting something nice, you'll be helping me out, you'll be supporting the channel, be supporting the creation of videos like these. Everybody wins, I tell ya. So until next time, everybody, I'm Cape Joel, and I will see you in another video.